Hello, Difference Maker, and welcome to IDD Leader. It's the podcast that's all about helping human service organizations retain and grow their workforce using behavioral science. I'm your host, Nate Beers. Let's dive in. In today's episode, you're going to hear an interview from leaders at an organization that has taken staff orientation and training to a whole new level. They've developed what they call the Roadmap to Success program. Hearing them share about how they're integrating training and mentoring new employees is really like a masterclass in best practices for a new employee's first day, first week, first month, and beyond. And as you're listening, I want you to catch the undercurrents of how they've extended person-centered care, not just a buzzword for the individuals we serve, but also they've extended it to their staff. So without further ado, enjoy this interview. Today, I'm talking with three leaders at Vocational Training Center from Fargo, North Dakota, and I'm going to have each of you introduce yourselves with your name, your role there at VTC, and then just a very brief synopsis of how you got into the field of providing services to adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities.
I'm Scott Burtsfield. I'm the Executive Director here at the Vocational Training Center. 15 years this summer, and it will be my anniversary. And I got here because it was my goal to run a nonprofit. And I love the mission. When I interviewed and walked around, I was like, oh my God, this place is amazing. I want to be here so bad. And I was greeted graciously. I felt like a rock star. I love the mission. I love the people I was interacting with right away. And when I was offered the job, I was just elated. And it was like a dream come true. And again, running the nonprofit is part of it, but the people I have contact with every day has just made that a terrific experience for me. So that's how kind of I never really thought about getting into the field. I fell into the field.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. How about either one of you, Jodi or Amy?
Jodi, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Jodi Freitag. I am our regional staff trainer. I did start with VTC 20 years ago.
Wow.
And I kind of, in the capacity that I was working more doing a contract for Fargo Public Schools. And then I gradually came into the role of being a direct support staff. So by working with them and then just changes through the years of what your role is.
Okay, cool.
And I'm Amy Schultz, HR director. Kind of like Scott, I kind of fell into this. I had been working outside of nonprofits and more corporate and wanted to get back into HR. Ended up interviewing, had an amazing interview, and have been now 9.5 years with VTC. And I always tell people I wish I would have found this job 30 years ago. But I was lucky enough to find it almost 10 years ago. So yeah, I've loved every minute.
That's awesome. We're going to talk about your Roadmap to Success program here in a minute, but what's made it so wonderful for you, Amy?
Working in HR for a long time, I always had connections with employees, which that's where my passion is. But in this environment, I get that extra level where I have those connections with the individuals we support, with that in itself is gratifying. So that truly having both of those options, those connections is huge. So yes, that's why.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And we truly have an open door policy here. So, aside from right now, and of course when it's closed, but it is, we do have an open door policy. We want people to come in and feel free to visit and talk at their comfort level. And that includes the people we support and the staff. And so when Amy talks about, kind of mixing in with everybody else, you almost don't have a choice because they're going to come in your office and steal your candy and see how you're doing for the day and go on their merry way. So, but that's part of the fun of the gig.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. And is it all the Vocational Training Center? Is that all on one site? Like, is the whole thing there, or is there like multiple sites, or how's that work?
Well, we're over 60 years old now, and up until 2014, we were one site. We ended up taking with another nonprofit or another agency from the state that had a similar mission and vision. So we kind of doubled our program at the time,
Okay.
and since then we've almost doubled again in the last 10 years.
Nice.
When I started, there was probably like I think around 40 people that that we supported, and now we're nearing 200 in all of our programs and services. We were primarily employment and vocational, pre-vocational,
Hmm.
and now we do it all. We have residential, we have family support, we have uh, a day program specifically for people that are aging out of the traditional day programs
Yeah.
and have hit that retirement age and are having some of those age-related illnesses and afflictions. So we open up a site specifically for those folks, so they still have the opportunity to be involved with their peers in the community, have that support during the day, and do something other than thumb therapy all day with the remote control. So, and all of our staff there are certified dementia specialists. So we want to. It is a specialized program. Uh, but yeah, so now we have four buildings and two residential homes, and then various apartment buildings throughout the city as well.
Okay. That's cool to hear just the expansion that you guys have experienced.
Yeah, and we had about 28, I think around 28 employees, and now, Amy, what are we at? 192?
We're right about 195 right now. So,
Oh,
95.
wow.
yeah,
Okay. So you're just like just at that 200 mark.
Yeah.
we're almost there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's cool. So, well, I first heard about you guys when I read about the Roadmap to Success program. So let's just kind of dive right in there. Give our audience a clue as to what is this that you guys launched and yeah, the works.
Well, I'll start if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
It was I attended a conference not long after I started with VTC, Vocational Training Center, and after been here about 2 or 3 years, you fall into that routine of hiring and orientation and throwing people to wolves like within 2 hours of beginning to walk through the door, and expecting them to succeed and know what they're doing. But at the conference, there was a little booklet. It was from a hospital, I think around Chicago, and it was like a treasure hunt for new employees, and it had various benchmarks and check-ins. And I kind of tossed it on my desk and thought this would be a cool thing if we could pull this off. At the time, we weren't ready. Amy came on board, and I had shared with her that booklet. And so this is kind of what I would like to get us to, that someday that wish list thing. And in 2016, we had our accreditation with with CQL, the Council of Quality Leadership, and through that it became a goal of ours. So now it was going from idea and conception to we got to make this happen. It's going to happen, and let's get moving on it. So with that, Amy and I, through some discussion, we thought it best to tap into the group that lives it, that knows it, that is the experts in it on what they would like if they were onboarding again, if they were to go through that whole orientation process again. And that's where when Jodi came in as one of the OG designers of the whole and made it to what it is now. And I'll let you guys kind of kick in with the other stuff, but that's in a nutshell how it came to be. And then they took it and ran with it, and made it something to be very, very proud of.
Okay, cool. So yeah, give me a paint a picture. What either you can pick up the story of how it kept developing, or you can say what it is now, and however you want to describe it. But just share more about this. It sounds fascinating. So it started with a brochure and then or a little pamphlet thing you saw, and then.
And we still have it too. We still have that brochure.
Is it like in a frame on the wall or something like that?
And a stack of papers on a desk in either mine or Amy's office.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually it travels. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
So keep going on the story here.
Sure. And I'll kind of lead and then I'm going to pass it to Jodi. We asked for volunteers for people. We had an annual training day and had created a number of different committees, and this was going to be one of the committees, an orientation committee. We had a group of, I believe there was 7 that started, variety of tenure. So there were some that had been long-term, some that were new, and started really kind of defining what the goal was for the group. And hopefully Jodi can speak to this too, but all of them wanted to make that change to how people were onboarded, sharing their own stories of, well, they had a day of this, and then here you go. You get to now support someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were truly very dedicated to making that process um, have value, and then to really, from their perspective, have that DSP in mind. So it was started from square one and worked through it. Jodi, I don't know if you want to kind of add in.
Yeah, for us it was more than a day. I think we got 3 entire days.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. I mean, so that was, I think, all of us as VPs and being there, just felt like that process was so overwhelming. And so it was really nice to be able to say, like, oh, we could have a voice in this, and what should this look like? And definitely that looked like half days of training and the rest spent on the floor to give that break because your brain just can't. So yeah, it was just, she had Amy had that original, and then we just made it our own of what we thought we needed in there.
Okay, well that's so what does it look like now? Paint the picture of where we're at now with how you guys are doing this. So this is when someone new comes on, they get hired and they start tomorrow. What's it going to look like for them?
Sure, I can start simply because the recruiting process is housed in HR. But once we've got a candidate committed and accepted the offer, we right away start building out that roadmap schedule. Initially, it was a 2-week process, and the group came together and said, no, we got to spread it out even further because there's so much to learn about not only about VTC, but the individuals. They needed time
Hmm.
to really get that information, that background. So it expanded to a month. So that schedule starts off again, like Jodi said, weeks 1 and 2 are typically half day of classroom, if you want to say that, or structured training. And then the other half is out there job shadowing. And they are assigned a mentor. So the mentor is there to guide them and kind of help them get familiar, and then walk them through and help them stay on schedule. The first 2 weeks are that. Typically, the weeks
Let
3
me
and
interject for a second. Is the mentor is that a peer mentor, or is that it's not a supervisor, it's a peer mentor?
yep, peer mentor.
Okay. All right, cool.
And
Yeah.
just the flag on that. Oh, go ahead.
Expand on that a little bit. So with the mentoring piece, that when this group came together, they're very deliberate, very thoughtful, and wanted to again create something different. As they started going through this and they started looking at the duties and responsibilities, they proposed a peer mentor position.
Hmm.
And they created what that was going to look like, and how that's going to be structured, and the activities they're going to be doing. And to give you an idea of how much investment this group had, is I'm sitting at looking at structure and systems, right? And they're coming at me with this mentor, and I asked, well, how much are we going to pay them? How much extra is this going to cost? Like, no, we don't want people to get paid for this. We want people that are dedicated and passionate about Vocational Training Center, and want something better for their coworkers. So we don't want to pay them. We want people that are going to be passionate about what they do. So that's against my thoughts and wishes. I eventually won, by the way, but it took a couple of years. Um,
Okay.
I was in it for the long haul. But so we did start off with, they created job description. They have all of these things,
Yeah.
and so I just didn't want to kind of like glaze over the mentorship piece, because it really is an
Yeah.
integral part of what we do. And how many do we have now? 7?
Oh gosh, we've got. Well, right now we have, I think, 3, 6, about 8.
8? Yeah.
We'll be expanding that because we've
Okay.
had some change out. But yeah.
And I think originally us mentors were probably the ones that were on the roadmap committee. I think most of us started as
Yeah.
then took on that mentorship. And then eventually others joined in as they learned what the role would require of them.
Okay.
So then jumping back, yeah, that mentor is there, assigned right off the bat, helps them get settled day one, and then helps them carry through on that schedule. But weeks 1 and 2 are more structured. Weeks 3 and 4 still what we call reverse job shadowing. So now they're doing more with the guidance of that mentor, and then learning more about the individual. So they're really digging into the individual's background, what supports they need, best practices, all of that. And the mentor doesn't disappear after that month. That mentor, of course, is a coworker and is a forever resource for them. So they always have that connection.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So the reverse, I want to hear a little bit more about this reverse job shadowing.
Sure.
Are they, is their mentor sticking with them for that? Is it other, like, how does that, are they getting feedback or what's the, just describe a little more for me.
Sure. So the reverse is just like it sounds. So weeks 1 and 2, they are watching. They're
Yeah.
alongside that mentor, living the life with that mentor, so they can get a picture of what each day looks like. And then in weeks 3 and 4, it flips. So the mentor now is giving them that chance to dig in, do things, and then they're guiding them as they go through that. So they're really getting that hands-on experience after having that chance to kind of step back and really get to know VTC first and kind of see what those days look like, and then they start digging in. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, that's really cool. And then also I wanted, another question I was wondering about on the training part, like on those first 2 weeks, you said, classroom or whatever, but is that, is that live? Like, is there a person going over stuff with them? Are they on like Relias or one of these platforms?
All with an instructor. All of our coordinators take a component of that. So when the person comes aboard and the schedule is set by Amy, then people start working in and out, taking those specialty areas that they're comfortable with and providing that education and that instruction to the new employee.
Okay, so it's like a rotation of staff. So it's there's a person. They're not just sitting in front of a screen.
Correct.
Okay. And Jodi, is that one of the things that you do? If I was understanding the role right?
So yes, I do help with the roadmap. My role as regional staff trainer has to do more with state requirements and annual training. So that's what
Oh,
that
okay.
role encompasses, and like their
Okay.
module work and all that.
Yeah.
But I do also help with roadmap and training and roadmap.
Okay. Now, do you guys also use a learning management software as well? Or do you keep it kind of, is the whole training schedule? I mean, when someone's done with their orientation, you know what I mean? Once they're doing their annual stuff.
All in person.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Now I will
Yeah.
put, yeah, we're working towards building out our LMS, but
Okay.
the in-person piece has been a really important part of ours because not having that personal connection with someone, you lose that way to integrate with the team. So we always have that personal connection with someone.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, I don't know for sure the stats on this, but I think you guys are probably in the minority to have so much live training. But it's so funny because on paper, using LMS for this stuff, like it looks good, like fiscally, it looks good for how much, because it scales really well, right? It's a lot tougher to scale a person teaching a person, but when it's software. But then the flip side of it is when it comes to the user experience or the employee experience, like 10 out of 10 people prefer live trainings in person. I mean, and so it's kind of this, it's an interesting, so that's fascinating to me. I think it's great that you guys are doing that. And it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up as you, if there's if you guys are going to end up with a hybrid model or if it's going to really stay largely in person, or is that determined yet? Or are you still kind of figuring that
Our
out?
preference is to remain largely in person for as much as we can. As we grow, we may have to adopt a few pieces here and there, but our focus is still going to be person centered, and having that person in the room that has that experience and has that knowledge and has that education to explain. Because I mean, I'm one of those person people that rather do the in person training, because if I have a question I want to ask, if I
Right.
you know you want people to expound on some of the ideas that they're talking about, and you don't get that with the video, and
No. Yeah.
so in the trainings on the onboarding, though it appears one-sided, there's always room for interaction and questions, and it isn't just preaching like here's how it's going to be, here's what you got to know. It's conversation based, and So I think people get more out of it that way than they would with the video up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, I think they're absolutely on that. So then, what kind of feedback have you guys? You've been running this now for multiple years. What's some of the feedback when like give me like a before and after of some of the feedback you've received or outcomes?
Sure. I can speak a little bit to this because we do have a new program or process we've started. So we've really been kind of drive-by feedback since we started it. We did hear feedback about the 3 day in one room, that it was tiring, it was long, because it was typically the same trainer. There wasn't change out.
People are falling asleep.
Yeah, people fall asleep. Yes.
Sure.
So yeah. So along the way, we have received feedback from people really just commenting that, I love this structure. And even Nate, to tell you, we still use a binder and we still put resources in a binder. And we get amazing feedback on that because people love having the schedule in hand. They like having the resources. So again, we're probably old school still a little bit with it, but the feedback is wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, and then now last year we did start, the roadmap committee came together and they actually created a survey process for new employees. So we have a more formalized process where through SurveyMonkey link is sent out for them to fill out, and surveys come to them after 1, 3, and 6 months, and then again at a year. And to date, we've had 47 responses. And it's interesting, no matter which, if it's the 1, the 3, the 6, 1 month, 3, 6, or the 1 year, the consistent thing is one of the questions we ask is, would you recommend VTC to people outside of here? Would you recommend employment? Resounding yes on there, very high scores. The other one is job satisfaction. We
Mm.
ask, are you enjoying your job? How do you like your job? Do you feel that you fit? And again, we're seeing high scores across all of those different time frames. So that in itself has been a big plus for us to actually see it coming in from those individuals living the roadmap.
And even those drive-bys, there's the comments that are made like, I've been in the field for 15 years and I had no idea of some of the content that you guys are teaching. So there's a disconnect with what we think people should know and what people want to know and how they want to learn it.
Mm.
So to hear things like that, and oh my God, I had no idea this was going on or this existed. I didn't get this from my former position as a DSP across town. Those are very nice pieces for us. That feedback is good for us to hear.
Yeah.
We know we're on the right trail and doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Absolutely. So have you noticed a difference? And maybe, I mean, if you weren't tracking it, it might be hard because it would just be anecdotal. But like, are you getting more employee referrals for new employees than what it was before?
We do see consistent referrals come in, which we always take as a win, that people are recommending, and we've had good success with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. That makes perfect sense to me.
And then one of the other pieces that I really love, it's a love-hate relationship because people have to leave here to realize how much they love it and want to come back.
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned before, Nate, we're not the highest paying place in town. We're right around mid-level. So we had to think of what we can do organizationally to attract and retain those employees, knowing that we can't pay up to the level of some other places. So what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
So through things like this and focusing on a lot of the employee parts of things, the DSP part, we have had people leave and then ask if they can come back, saying, leaving for different positions, higher pay, but coming back saying, it didn't feel like family. It didn't feel, I didn't get there what I got here with VTC. So for me, that's a win when you don't have to kick somebody's ass out the door rather than, they're trying to get their ass back in.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you right, you got like a high relapse rate. People like they move on and they relapse back to your program.
Yeah, there's been a few over the years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're that addictive.
You're that addicted. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you've tracked it. Is there any do you have any stats at all, or are you able to share about how it's affected retention rate, or maybe you already had a pretty good staff retention rate, but since implementing the roadmap to success?
Sure. We do track retention rates and turnover, and I'm going to use the marker, which everybody loves to hear. You know, COVID kind of changed things for us. There was a couple years. So, but right now
Yeah.
we average right around that 75 to 80% retention rate.
Okay.
And I always put a caveat in there that that isn't a reflection of this program, but it is a reflection of how we're also running things and then changes in people's lives. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's well, like way above industry average for retention. So that's wonderful. Um, nice. One other thing I was thinking about as you guys implemented this, you kind of spoke to this a little bit, but about any course corrections you made as you were rolling it out. I heard the one that you had to expand it longer. You heard that no, the 2 weeks was too quick, so you took it out to a month. Any other course corrections that you had to make as you were? I'm sure you making it up as you go, so you have to figure things out.
Well, and the mentorship, that was a definite course correction also. And I was listening to the people that were involved with the program about how that would be a really useful tool and benefit to new employees. So that was definitely a correction. These folks that have been involved with this, and Jodi in being an OG, they continuously meet. It's an ongoing process of identifying any barriers, any issues, and how we can overcome that and make it better. So, yeah, over time, some of it initially was making it up as we go for sure, but
Yeah.
as things
Well,
became
yeah,
solidified.
making sure, we had the state guidelines in there. So, that's the first pieces you plug in. Like what is required, what is our bare minimum that we have to have in there? And then adding to an, I don't, was active support, I think, from the get-go, right? Or did we
That
add in after we went through that week-long training?
we added that in after. That was one that we were introduced to more of that training, and then we wanted to share that with the new employees. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're still at this point correcting and expanding because of the feedback that we're getting from those new employees and those surveys. We're hearing they want, for example, more training on documentation, do's and don'ts, and things along that line, active support. So now we're next process with this committee is they're looking at that schedule again, but now going even beyond. And what can we do as maybe a touch-based training, 3 months down the road or 6 months down the road, just to kind of keep in that first year that that information top of mind, and then gaining that feedback, like what else should we be adding in? What else are you not getting enough of? So yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so I'm hearing continuous improvement is what I'm hearing and what you're saying. That it's you guys are regularly looking at this, keep refining it, which that's really cool. Um, I was thinking about this before this call. Has the roadmap to success? Have you seen that have any kind of impact on leadership development?
Quick comment I'll make is I think with the people we include as trainers, and we keep expanding on that too, that has helped them understand the importance of that connection with those new employees. And
Mm-hmm.
I think they carry that into their teams. So having multiple people in those right now, those leadership levels being involved, that's been a big plus. And again, for the new employee, they're all resources to them. Right off the bat, they know multiple people that they could reach out to. So I do think that helps in the development. Future wishes, yes, we're looking at additional roadmaps for whether it be
Okay.
for for supervisors. Our mentors, we actually just met with the mentor group in January and got their feedback. What do they want to develop
Mm-hmm.
more? What do they want for more training? So that's now becoming a quarterly meeting, and there'll be training defined by them for the skills that they want to expand on. So, and then mentors potentially could be those supervisors. We've had that happen. It could be then program coordinators. So
Yeah.
definitely long term, yes, it does have an impact.
It's one of those steps for us to show the career ladder, the potential for if people want to stay with VTC, that there's opportunities for them. And Jodi's a great example too. That she started off as a contractor worker to a DSP, and now she's the trainer.
Yeah.
And our service director started off as a DSP to the Q position, and then to a directorship position.
Yeah.
So, and some of our Qs now we're DSPs. So we're a little ancestral like that. So to try to find ways to develop that and nurture that, and then try to create avenues for them, for folks to be pursuing if they so choose.
Yeah.
Even for the knowledge base, we started doing an incentive for a level 4 DSP. This is, seeking knowledge beyond what you were required to do, and getting an extra credential. So we've created an incentive for people to get extra pay for taking that next step.
Okay.
So that does also feed into that career ladder. Like, okay, now I'm a level 4. I'm a mentor. If a position opens up, I'm much more qualified now to apply for that and compete. So
Yeah. So there's their credentialing like 1 through 3 already that you guys have?
yes,
And who's that? Is that your own credentialing, or is that through like NADSP or through a state level, or is that just your own?
State level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've set, North Dakota has different criteria or
Yeah,
training requirements or things like that?
there's a module process that all our employees go through. It's an 18-month program,
Mm-hmm.
and then so in a variety of different topics, and they have to achieve success in each of those topics to get their level 3. And then the level 4 is just staff on their own taking that initiative, furthering their knowledge and enhancing that accreditation or that credential piece.
Okay. And that level 4, is that also through a state initiative?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I had never heard of that. Well, of course, there's a lot of states, so I know what a few states do, but that's really neat. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here pretty soon, but there is another question I really wanted to ask. So a lot of the listeners are in leadership roles at other IDD providers, and very well could be resonating with what they're hearing and you guys sharing today. So I'm curious, is there any kind of a framework or a playbook that if someone wants to follow in your footsteps, so to speak, to implement this, like, what's your advice, or where should they turn? What's the,
Well, and for one, we're definitely willing to share how we did this and what went into it. We love the fact we can help others if they want to move that direction. For us, it was a paradigm shift. It was and it was a tough one. It was getting away from what we've done for years and years, and committing to a new process and to a new system of delivery or delivery system. But it really was a commitment, and we had to. There's times where you might be short staffed, people calling in, so you want to grab that new person, put them on the floor. But we have to say, no, there's a process in place now, regardless of what's going on around us, what that situation is. We want that person to go through this process so we can ensure their success here with Vocational Training Center. And I've been told by other directors, that oh, it's never going to work. We can't do that. You can't. You just have to commit to it, and you have to believe in it, and believe that there's something better for the employees rather than a couple hours and here's your lunch and good luck.
Mhm.
So you really have to invest in the process, invest in the people, and realize that there is something more that you can offer and should offer. And I think the employees that go through it, and it isn't just our DSPs either. Even our receptionist goes through
Mhm.
the process. So it
Okay.
isn't, it's everybody from leadership to and a janitor, whatever that case is. It's everybody.
Mhm.
Okay.
But you have to be willing to invest in it and commit to it, and then have the right people around to pull it off.
Yeah. No, that's spot on. I can really see the difference of what you're talking about. And I think that's there's a cost to that. There's a price to that you have to basically say, I'm going to take the short-term loss of the chaos of short-staffed and but for the long-term gain
Yes.
of protecting that process, like what you just described.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of like mixed martial arts at all, it's like the ground and pound. You can get in there, you can get in the ring and do that flash knockout, whatever it is. but sometimes you just got to get in there and grind it and just keep going and grind away until you win. And that's
Okay.
kind of what we did. We just kept grinding away. It wasn't a process that happened in a week or a month or a year. It was a long process to get up and running and get to the point where we are now. But we had to commit to that and be steadfast in that commitment.
Yeah. Well, I've loved hearing about this. I'm sure our listeners are loving hearing about this. Way to be innovators in the field. That's really phenomenal. And I think that the results that you're talking about and just really the culture that I'm hearing through our talk today, it's pretty amazing. So my hat's off to you guys, and thank you for taking the time to share about this today.
Well, thanks for kind of calling us out and realizing what we do. If you ever want to do an explicit podcast, I'm your guy.
What'd you say? If you ever want what?
To do an explicit podcast, I'm definitely the.
You've got me covered. Okay. Oh, and then if someone does, I meant to put this on there. If someone does want to reach out directly, is there like a contact form on your web page? Would that be the best? Is that the best way? And what is your website?
It's fargovtc.org.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward. fargovtc.org. Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, there is so much to learn from that interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Something that jumped out to me was their dedication to stick with their process, even when they're short-staffed, even when it's difficult, and that they've continued to provide a first-class experience for new employees. And really, that brings me to my one recommended next step or action item from today's episode. Usually, I suggest one action that you can take, but today, I want you to receive a gift I'm going to give you. That is the gift of permission. That's right. I'm officially giving you permission to do what others say can't be done, to innovate and improve your new employee experience, and to put some boundaries on the chronic challenges that you and your organization are facing so that you can build a better future for your organization. You have permission, as of right now, to do things differently. And I can't wait to hear about what you do with that permission. Now, I have a small gift for you. It's a free PDF download. It's the top 10 questions to help you solve DSB turnover at your organization. You can download it totally for free at iddleader.com/top10, TOPTEN. And I think you'll enjoy it very much. Also, would you do me a favor? Would you consider sending this episode to a colleague or a friend? Just tap that share button and send it over to them. That would be awesome. Help get the word out and really help them learn from this organization that I had the chance to sit down with during the interview. Well, until next time, here's to you, difference maker. Keep up the amazing work.